Black space is over here.
It has been really hard for brown and black people to imagine a future in this country.
Through policy, through redlining, through segregation, through gentrification, through lynches, through massacres, we are at risk.
Black space is next about racism, segregation, Reconstruction, apartheid, redlining, gray towns, black code.
My name is Sean Anderson.
I'm Mabel Wilson, and together we curated this exhibition, Reconstructions, Architecture and Blackness in America.
The title comes from the period of Reconstruction in the United States, in which the federal government would begin to redress the violence of slavery.
In addressing the legacies of segregation and all of the ways in which the built environment serves as a medium of hostility and social repression, it seemed appropriate to think about what does it mean to repair and rebuild that environment.
The project is a protest machine that makes manifest the stories and spatial movements of the student-led civil rights movement in Nashville, Tennessee during the early 1960s. Additionally, the project is a full-scale structure that I call a trolley. So the trolley recalls the ways in which the civil rights protesters and Black Lives Matter protesters have occupied the city, have taken over the streets and the sidewalks in order to express themselves, as well as to say that liberation is an action and that liberation demands action and that liberation is spatial. While freedom is an idea, to be really free is to be spatially free.
The project is basically an atlas. It contains the 3D construction on the floor that has the timeline, dictionary plates, maps that have the historic layers projected onto the contemporary map of the city. And as I was researching, what I actually found were these amazing narratives of Black settlement. African Americans are often made to feel that we have no history or that our history is only sorrow. But the people who are making the history, who are living, they were fighting all the time to realize good things for themselves and good things for their family and good things for others. And so for me, that's what I see in these stories, and I want others to see them too.
There are several layers of history of the site that I've chosen in what used to be the old 15th Ward of Syracuse from the 1920s, when the Black community was really thriving, through the mid 60s and 70s when the highway came through, to projecting into the near future when that space will be redeveloped into mixed income housing. One of the things that I've done for a long time in my practice is think about how hip hop as a culture can influence architecture. So my proposal is taking all of those layers of history and sampling them, remixing them. The way that we use public space is really the way that we express freedom. And in freedom is joy, and in joy is ultimate self-preservation and self-care.
The work is about bringing people together in conversation. I believe that one of the important aspects of being a Black architect is to construct the social around artifacts and around places and around people. That is just as much a part of making architecture as making a building with bricks and mortar. I've been inspired to work with textiles because this is a skill that I really enjoyed as a child, learning how to sew, working with my mother, working with my aunt. Bringing that into architecture, I can make buildings with textiles that I can lift with my own body, that I can make with my own body. So the textile was a source of liberation.
A spectrum of Blackness started from this exploration of what does it constitute to be Black in Miami. One has to understand that Blackness isn't a monolith. There are some things that are shared, and there are some that are completely different. And so the idea behind the collages is to celebrate those similarities and those differences. I'm taking something as innocuous as the spice rack and making it a spice wall, because many individuals who identify as Black use a lot of seasoning. So you really get to understand the ways in which we cook, in which we hang out, in which we care for each other. You have these Black people who are literally building the city of Miami. But at the inception of Miami, those people were not allowed to live by water. But Miami is currently dealing with sea level rise. Ironically, the locations that Black people were forced to live in because of discriminatory planning policies that are the least vulnerable to sea level rise, so now you're taking those from them as well.
The vertical disc, a large tapestry, which depicts a drawing of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a massive rift on the ocean floor of the Atlantic, and the site for an incalculable loss of Black life during the Middle Passage. Atlanta's sprawling horizontal environment that is defined by its highway infrastructure, single-family homes, and strip malls. These are spaces where Blackness as an identity is consistently being negotiated. We wanted to practice refusal against the ways in which architecture is typically defined, this urge to make the world measurable. That allows us to engage with the city differently and to imagine radically different worlds.
The topic of Reconstruction as an era, the way I think through that era as an architect, is through counter-narrative. And what I mean by that is there's one story of what happened, and then there's the story of what almost happened, or what might have happened. So Republica is specifically New Orleans, and at the same time, it's another reality completely. It's a version of New Orleans where the largest uprising against slavery in North America is imagined as successful. The project RR is asking me as a designer to design through resistance. Thinking Black resistance opens up all these other ways of thinking the built environment. Republica and working on Republica is an homage to resistance, to Black resistance.
My project, 10 Towers Black Power, reimagines what a typical street might look like in West Oakland, California, using the tower, the high-rise, as an object that is hybridized through different program that's inspired by the Black Panther 10-point program. The design creates a set of imaginative, political, recreational, domestic spaces that begin to suggest that maybe Black people in this country could have a future. I think fiction is, in my work, a place of freedom. It has been really hard for brown and Black people to imagine a future in this country. And fiction, in a way, is that parallel universe that starts at a known point, but it moves in a different parallel sort of space. And by using fiction, maybe it's possible then to reimagine ourselves in new places and then find ways to get there.
Thinking of highly self-organized spaces and communities is a way of really opening up the idea of public versus private, of power versus authority. For me, speculative fiction allows me the necessary flexibility that I need to examine contemporary issues, but create new parameters for exploring them. My project examines public space and the right to public space by creating a speculative world based here in Brooklyn. Climate change has exacerbated the individual is granted a certain amount of mobility credits. But in this world, the rich have purchased much of the mobility credits. Poor, marginalized communities are cut off from the larger world. But there is a very sustainable communal practice that occurs using architecture as a kind of medium for exploring these worlds. It's not about creating the solution, it's about setting up scenarios that might elicit discourse.
Often, Black people in America are not given the space at all to even just be. A lot of time is spent just concerning ourselves with staying alive, but we just need to stop and imagine what it might mean to have to fashion your own path to a space of freedom or to a space of self-determination. There's a vessel, which I have named the Space Boat Ship Vessel Capsule, that is an imagined device to help you get to this mental and physical place of freedom. For me, it's important that you know that there has already been free Black space in the United States. There are a number of towns that were called free towns, of which Kinloch, Missouri was the first for the state of Missouri. What would it mean if those places existed today and had thrived? What would it mean for the beauty and the benefit of the entire United States if there hadn't continued to be this concerted effort to eliminate Black space?
Apartheid, redlining, gray towns, black codes, white privilege. No 40 acres in the North. Black space is revolting against first world, second world, third world, Elon Musk colonizing other worlds.